Halo.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Alhamdulillah wa syukurillah. Thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Because of His grace, we can still be together in today's event called International Webinar Global Supply Chain Management Models and Upgrades. Although this event held to be online meeting, but I wish we may always stay healthy. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Rana Fatina Ananda, and you can call me Miss Rana, and I take a part of being the moderator for today's event. First, let me inform you the rundown for this event. First, at 9 o'clock, it will be the opening. At 9 o'clock, it will be the opening by moderator, which is by me. And then the next step, it will be the forward by Director of the University of Medan Area, Professor Dr. Dadan Ramdan, Master of Engineering, Master of Science. And then we move forward to the forward by the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Dr. Ahmad Rafiki. And we will go to the main point of this event from the speakers by Senior Lecturer from University Technology Mara, Malaysia, Dr. Syatina Saad, the Senior Lecturer from University Sultan Syarif Ali Brunei Darussalam, Dr. Hakimah binti Yaakob, the Vice President of International Supply Chain Institute of Professionals Canada, Dr. Moniruzzaman, the Senior Lecturer from KTO Karatai University, Dr. Sul R. Europe, and the presentation by the Senior Lecturer from Universitas Medan Area, Dr. Leland Tawila. Then we will move forward to the discussion by questions and answers before we move to the closing. First of all, I would like to greet all the audience. The Honorable Professor Dr. Dadan Ramdan, Master of Engineering and Master of Science. The Honorable Dr. Ahmad Rafiki, and for all the speakers, Dr. Syatina Saad, Dr. Hakimah binti Yaakob, Dr. Moniruzzaman, Dr. Sul R. Yuro, Dr. Lailan Tawila, and the Honorable for all the fellow lecturers and our regular students who are willing to join this event. As the opening section, we would like to hear the foreword from Rector of Universitas Medan Area, Professor Dr. Dadan Ramdan. So welcome, Professor Dr. Dadan Ramdan.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rana Fatina Ananda. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And morning.
Morning.
Sir.
Morning.
The Honorable Dr. Sule R. Europe, Senior Lecturer of KTO Karatai University, Turkey. Then the Honorable Dr. Syatina Saad, Senior lecturer of University Teknologi Mara, Malaysia, and then the Honorable Dr. Madur Zaman, Vice President of International Supply Chain Institute of Professionals from Canada, and then the Honorable Dr. Hakimah binti Yaakob, Senior Lecturer of University Sultan Syarif Ali, Brunei Darussalam, and then the Honorable Ahmad Rafiqi, PhD, CIMA, Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Medan Area, and then the Honorable Dr. Lailan Tawila, Senior Lecturer of Universitas Medan Area, and they are participants of the international webinar entitled Global Supply Chain Management Method Models and Upgrades. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim, wassalatu wassalamu ala anbiya wa mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah sadri wa yassir amri wa hlul lisan yafqahu qawli. First, we want to praise and thank to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has given His blessing to all of us, being grateful with healthy and prosperous, so we can able to attend the seminar today. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of webinar today is certainly one of the topics that has a very important role in this globalization era. As we know, supply chain management is generally described as an activity that includes planning, managing, and scheduling product flows from manufacturer to distribution to consumers. Currently, business competition is getting tougher in the globalization era. So that is not only competing to survive in domestic market, but also competing to penetrate the global market. It requires every company to develop a business strategy in order to compete with other companies, and this is where supply chain management plays a significant role as a strategy to improve company efficiency. Through well-developed supply chain management, companies can improve their image and competitiveness toward other competitors. Not only that, through supply chain management, customer satisfaction is also guaranteed and ultimately makes your business more profitable. Ladies and gentlemen, in accordance with the topic of webinar today, we are going to talk about supply chain management in a broader scope. It will be so interesting to discuss since global supply chain management has an important role for companies as a strategy to be able to compete in the international market in this globalization era. We are going to listen, discuss, and share further about global supply chain management models and upgrades from the professional speakers, both theoretical and practical perspective. I would like to thank and greatly appreciate all speakers who have taken their time to share their thoughts, opinions, and experience in this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, it is expected that the webinar could give good contribution and positive impact in economic field, especially toward the improvement to global supply chain management. I do hope that apart from being a step to strengthen the relationship between UMA, Universitas Medan Area, and all universities involved on this webinar, the activity is also expected to provide positive benefit for all parties. Thank you so much for all the speakers and committee also for all the hard work and your cooperation to make this seminar can be held today, and also for the participants. May you and your family and are always surrounded with prosperity, health, peace, and the full blessing from the Almighty God, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So, in the name of Allah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I open this online seminar officially. Have a great seminar, and thank you for your attention. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning.
Waalaikumsalam.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for the opening speech by Professor Dr. Dadan Ramdan. Now we are moving forward. Please welcome the forward by the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Ahmad Rafiki, PhD, CIMA. Please welcome Dr. Ahmad Rafiki.
Thank you. Ms. Rana, you can hear my voice?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Honorable our Rector, Professor Dr. Dadan Ramdan, and the Vice Rector, the Dean of the Faculties, and all the participants that attending this international seminar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wa bihi nasta'in ala umuri dunya waddin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Alhamdulillah, today we are able to meet in this international seminar with collaboration with University Teknologi Mara, University Sultan Syarif Ali, Brunei Darussalam, KTO Karata University, Turkey, and International Supply Chain Institute of Professional from Canada. Thank you for being our partners, and we are holding this international seminar today. Ladies and gentlemen, as just now our rector mentioned about the supply chain management, so I will add some of the introduction. The global supply chain does not only affect the existence of company, but also the economies of countries in the world specifically. Basically, the joining of a country or company into the global supply chain must be based on potential for better profit. So for today, our objective of this international seminar, number one, is to discuss on the challenges and opportunity of global supply chain management and its impact to the economic development. The second one, to discuss on the new models and upgrades on global supply chain management. The third one, to explore the process implementation of global supply chain management. Today, there are 5 speakers who are expert on this topic. Number one, Dr. Satina Saad from University Teknologi Mara, and the second, Dr. Hakimah Binti Yaakob from University Sultan Sharif Ali, Brunei, Darussalam. And the third one, our speaker from Canada, from the International Supply Chain Institute of Professional. And the fourth one, our expert on global supply chain management from Turkey, from KTO Karata University, Dr. Sule Erhuyuruk. And the fifth, our expert from Universitas Medan Area, Dr. Lailan Tawila. So today, they will explain, they will have some thought and knowledge that will be shared to us as participants. So we hope you can enjoy the seminar and also get benefit of knowledge and other important information specifically on supply chain management. We from the Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Medan Area, thank you for your time and your opportunity that coming to this seminar, international seminar. And thank you for Pak Rektor, Professor Dr. Dana Ramdan, for giving our faculty to help to hold this international seminar. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmad Rafiki. Now we are moving to our main event, is the speakers. So, but before we start, I would like to remembering all the speakers based on our rundown. So every speaker is given 20 to 25 minutes to give the presentations. So for the first is the presentation by the senior lecturer from University Teknologi Mara, Malaysia, Dr. Syatina Saad. Please welcome Dr. Syatina Saad.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you hear me?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, sure, miss.
Yeah, all right.
It's clear.
Okay, it's clear. All right. Alhamdulillah. Okay, first and foremost, thank you very much, the Honorable Rector of University of Medan area, Professor Dr. Dadan Ramdan, for this opportunity, and also the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Dr. Ahmad Rafiki. So I'm really honored on behalf of UITM to be presenting for today, and also the other speakers, honorable speakers, distinguished speakers. And I can see that those speakers are very expert in their areas. And Alhamdulillah, for given this opportunity was an honor for me as well, and also for UITM. So I hope that whatever sharing for today, at least we can get not much, but a little bit of some sharing. And I'm not that expert per se, however, at least some sharing from me. Okay, I will start sharing the slide right now. Okay. Let me check. Let me check for the slide, yeah. Hold on. Where's the slide now? Okay, can you see the slide so far?
Not yet, miss.
Not yet.
It doesn't
Okay,
show up. Yeah.
all right. Let me check. Let me check. Screen 2. Hold on, yeah. I'll check the setup. Okay. Can you see the slide now?
Yeah, miss. It
Yes,
has shown
yes.
up.
All right. Let me make it as a wide screen. Okay. This is all technologies, right? The beauty of having technologies, we can play around, and again, we need to give some glitches of the timing as well. Okay, Alhamdulillah. So I'm sharing my presentation for today. So I'll try to finish up within the time given. Okay, but again, according to the runway, I should start by 10:30, right? Still, since the online things, we may start much earlier and we can finish earlier. Okay, Alhamdulillah. What we'll discuss for today, basically, we will discuss in the round of global supply chain management. If I go very fast, please stop me at any time, because once I start talking, it will go very fast as well. Okay. So
Yeah,
again,
excuse me, Dr. Shatina.
Yeah.
But the slide still running.
The slide still running.
Already, yeah.
It's running.
So we can't see the pages.
Yeah.
There's
can't see
just
the
a
pages?
line. Yeah, no, there is no slides. Maybe you can refresh, Dr. Shatina.
Okay, yeah, I try to refresh. Okay, hold on. I don't know what happened to today. Just now when I tried, it's okay. Everything okay. Okay, don't worry. I'll start. Try again. Oh, no, not this one. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Okay, I try to push down. Push down. Can you see that?
Yeah, doctor.
All right. Okay, now it's moving. Okay, sorry for this inconvenience, but again, these are all the glitches that we have to anticipate, the risk when it comes to presenting online as well. Okay, I will talk and we'll discuss on the supply chain resilience and sustainability. But before that, let me introduce myself. I'm Shatina Saad, a senior lecturer at Faculty of Business and Management. I've been I've been teaching to this faculty since 25 years ago, so quite some kind of experience then. And currently, I'm attached to the Institute of Quality and Knowledge Management, Knowledge Advancement, specifying on this innovation and creativity. Okay. So what I am sharing for today, basically, I will look into the supply chain resilience and sustainability, since you can see that when you talk about global supply chain management, so you cannot run away from this resilience and sustainability, and in ensuring that in order to sustain in the market, so we have to look into these matters. So what I'm expecting, what we will explore for today, basically, we'll try to look into, again, I'm sure that every one of us so familiar with this supply chain sustainability. So I just refresh what requires and needed under supply chain sustainability. And then again, when we talk about global supply chain, we cannot run away from having this risk management. So at least we will need to go through and explore a bit on this risk management. And then we are looking into the supply chain resilience and ripple effect, because this is very critical, because of when we talk about anything happen in the other side of the world, we feels like it will not affect it to us. However, if we really understand how this ripple effect happen, then we were aware that something happened in the other side of the country, in the other world, however, it will affect us as well. So we need to be more careful and we'll be more critical. And again, we can see that even though something happened in the other side of the world, saying that we have another war in the other country, again, it may affect us as well. So we are looking into that matters. And last but not least, we will look into the resilience framework, okay, how to sustain. And again, this is where we are going to look through with this framework. Okay, let us go through. I go very fast just to recap, because of, again, it's what we know. All of us so familiar with the supply chain sustainability, and I'm sure that the participants here, the students, whoever participant, the ladies, gentlemen, I'm sure that most of us is so familiar with these 3P concept. Okay, the people, the planet, and the profit. So when you talk about this sustainability, we always associate with the social, economy, and the environment concept. So it integrated, and from all these, from this concept of the triple bottom line, again, we are looking into the sustainability. And I'm sure that if we look through it in the supply chain operations management concept like closed loop supply chain, the reverse logistic has been discussed so much, has been discussed and been researched so much on that as well. So we are looking into how from the supply chain we come up with the closed loop, and how we came up with some reverse logistic, the green nation and others as well. And from all this, we understand that the supply chain also does not at the end point of the sales only. However, we can see that if we really understand the supply chain, we can see that it comes as a cycle, and that is where we are moving forward with this circular economy as well. Okay, so this is where we can see in order to sustain, and this is also affected with our global supply chain. Okay, all right. When you talk about this global supply chain, no one can run away from this uncertainty and risk. Okay, especially when you talk about globalization. So we are looking into all this as well. Okay, the uncertainty and the risk. Okay, again, you can see this is just like a shell. Okay, start off with so many uncertainties happen. And when you talk about uncertainties, of course, it may exist in any system with the sensible extent of complexity. And as what we know, supply chain comes with a very complex activities. Okay, we can see a lot of activities: purchasing, procurement, logistics, okay, planning, forecasting. So it involved with many industries, it involved with many organizations, many parties involved. And again, it requires a very complex value chain required. And for these uncertainties, you can see that it can be reduced or amplified. So if we identify what kind of the price uncertainties, the demand uncertainties, we can identify and we can reduce it and we can amplify it. Okay. From these uncertainties, we are going to define the risk. You can see here, the risk is initiated from the uncertainties. So how to differentiate between the risk and the uncertainties? The risk can be identified, it can be analyzed, it can be controlled, and also regulated. We always say, try to identify your calculated risk. Is it 80-20? Is it 50-50? Is it 60-40? So we always associate when we want to run any kind of business or any kind of transaction, identify your calculated risk. So we can identify, we can analyze, and we can control. Okay. So of course, this can also cause disturbance. Okay. From this risk, you can see that it may lead to the disturbance. That is the inner side of the risk. You can see disturbance results from the risk. It can be prevented and eliminated by the means of redundancy and flexibility reserve. This is from our calculated risk just now. We can identify how to mitigate the two risks. We can identify how we want to reduce the risk. However, even though we have planned so much, we have anticipated all the risks. Of course, disturbance might happen. But for this, it can cause a deviation as well. Okay, so the next one, this is the most critical, especially in the global supply chain. We are talking about disruption. Okay, so what it requires under disruption, this is the results from a disturbance, and this is where it can be disrupted the supply chain. Okay, so this is the most critical, and when it comes into disruptions here, means that it may affect the whole thing. Okay, it can be eliminated by the means of adaptations. So what happened like us this time around, right? The COVID-19 happened, the pandemic happened. So we never thought that we cannot travel, like what happened today, right? So I thought like I can be in Medan, Indonesia, so I need to use my passport. But now, due to this COVID pandemic, so I still can communicate and I can still be in Medan even though it's virtual. Okay, so this is what happens. So we need to change with our new things as well. Okay, so we need to adapt with the new things. All right, moving forward. So of course, when you talk about the risk, we also always need to associate with our efficiency. So how we relate with this efficiency and the risk? Okay, when we run any organization, so of course, we will have this uncertainty space and our system space as well. So I'm giving these two situations. Okay, the first situation, if we are having a smaller system space, if we're having a smaller operations, we are having a smaller running our operations as well. And we can see a lot of uncertainty space happen. Okay, this is where when we run in a smaller scale, so we can see we can reduce our operation costs, and indirectly, because of due to we have a bigger spaces of uncertainty space, it may leads to a higher risk as well. So you can see we can control our costs, however, the risk might be high. Okay, it's different with the second situation. Okay, the second situation, this is where we may have a bigger system space, okay, and we may reduce our uncertainty space as well. So when you talk about a bigger system space, so indirectly we increase our operation costs, and indirectly we may reduce the risk. So we may need to include our mitigation costs, we may include our any prevention costs. So all that may increase the cost of operations. Indirectly, we reduce the risk as well. So these are how we go and look into our operation costs, how we are willing to spend more in order to reduce our risk as well. Okay, right. Moving forward. Okay, these are some of the risks in the supply chain and operations management, and you can see we can relate these to our simple supply chain, or when we relate with our global supply chain, of course, it will be more complicated as well. So again, we can see that the risk can be identified, rather it requires with the demand, okay, the globalization, the lead time, and also the lean supply chain. And again, it can be categorized into two kinds. One, we relate with our operational risk, always associated with the bullwhip effect. And we also know that when you talk about the bullwhip effect, it will be a fluctuations. Okay, so it may be recurrent, it may be fluctuates. And the second one known as disruption risk. Okay, this is where it can happen. Usually it goes with exceptional cases, and that may lead to a ripple effects. So later we'll look through what requires under these ripple effects. And when we talk about this risk, always associate with the demand, because when we talk about the demand, the quantity needed always fluctuates. Sometimes we have a high demand, sometimes we have a low demand. Okay, so it always fluctuates. Sometimes we require some shortages, sometimes we require some surplus. So all this comes in. We also talk about the lead time. Okay, the lead time, the availability, the accessibilities of the supply. Sometimes during the high demand, you have enough supply, then it seems like we can deliver it on time. Sometimes when we have a high demand, less supply, then those who are willing to pay more, then you will get the supply. So all these come as part of the lead time requirement, the availability of the products or the services that we like to provide. Okay. Another reason when you talk about the globalization. So for this globalization, of course, we need to understand the global structure itself and how it interacts and how it interrelates from one to another. Okay. And all of us are aware right now, right? So Ukraine and Russia is having a war, a very tight situations now. And we feel like, oh, that is far away from our country. It will not affect us. However, we realize that whatever happened in the other side of the world, it may affect with our currency rate. It may affect with our it may affect with our daily activities as well. Okay, Ramadan is coming, and you can see that many small traders also would like to do some businesses, small businesses, and the price of the flour also is increasing. Okay, again, it affects with the supply as well. So all this comes as part of the complexity of this globalization, the risks happen. And then we also talk about the lean supply chain, how it depends to the processes. This is how we relate with the volatility. So how volatile the processes, and this is how we depends to our suppliers as well. Okay, So moving forward, okay, this is where we can relate the two different risks. Okay, we have the operational risk where we always associated with the bullwhip effect, and we have the disruption risk where we always relate with the ripple effect. And you can see how often these disruptions and also how it impacts to the performance. We can see that for this operational risk, the fluctuations, the disruptions frequency might be high, okay, because of the demand might be fluctuates. Sometimes we have some surpluses, sometimes we have some shortages. However, the performance impact is lower compared to the disruption risk. Okay, even though it always happen, but we can control that. Okay, disruptions might always happen, but we can control. We know how to control that. Okay. However, the most critical here is when we talk about the disruption risk. Okay, this is the exceptional, saying that we never plan for it. It happened, and once it happened, it may impact many of us. It may impact with the whole chain, the value chain. And again, it may impact to the, the performing countries, to the developed countries, to the developing countries, and to the less developed countries as well. So it may impact others as well. Okay, so this is where we are going to focus on the disruption risk. Okay, so you can see here the disruption. It may happen once or less than a few. However, the performance impact is really high on that. Okay, so that's what requires that we are going to focus on today. All right, again, I just list out a few of the difference between this operational and the disruptive risk. Okay, again, the features, you can see the risk usually for the bullwhip always focus on the operational, so it means that it always associated with demand fluctuations. And then the ripple effect usually always relate with the disruptions, such as like plant explosion, such as like we have earthquake, so we have the war. Okay, so all these is like it may relate with the disruptions as well. So the affected areas, when it comes into the bullwhip, we can see usually we always relate to the lead time and the inventory. But for the ripple effect here, you can see usually it will affect the structures and the critical parameters as well. Okay, sometimes it may affect the suppliers at the other side of the world. It may impact to our vendors. It may impact to our subcontractors as well. Okay, so again, it may impact to our business and lost sales as well. Okay, for the recovery, you can see for the bullwhip effect, usually we can, because of that is always anticipated. So usually we can came up with a short-term coordination and we can balance it with the demand and supply. So we can balance it with the surplus and shortages. Okay. However, for this ripple effect, you can see it requires a middle and long-term effect. Okay, for the recovery. So it will take some times also for us to come back and to be as what we are in. Okay, so that requires a lot of coordination efforts and also a lot of investments as well. And how it affected with the performance, of course, for the bullwhip, usually because of it deals with our daily transaction. Okay, we can see sometimes we may have some stock out, sometimes we may have some overage costs. However, when it comes into the ripple effect, of course, it may impact our annual revenues and profit. And in some organization, you can see that for those companies that who can handle with this disruption risk, you can see that again, it will impact to their number of workers, impact to their revenues, impact to their performance as well. Okay, so that's required on that. All right, I'm just sharing a bit on the external reasons of this disruptive risk. This is what we are going to focus at. You can see here the external reason, meaning that is beyond our organization and that is beyond our control sometimes. And of course, when it comes into the demand and supply, that is normal for us when it comes into global supply chain. So we need to understand the demand and the supply. And when we talk about this disruptive risk, it's beyond our control. If Allah has planned everything, it must be a blessing in disguise. And we feel like it's so bad, but again, we will learn new things as well. Okay, so like what happened to this pandemic, right? And we can see that we came up with a lot of innovations. we came up with a very fast of, learning new things in delivering online. So all this come as part of the reason, the blessing in disguise as well. Then usually when it comes into disruptive risk for the external reason, you can always associate with the financials and political crisis. Okay, and this is beyond our control. Sometimes when it comes into political instability, you can see it affect with our businesses as well. It affect with the demand, affect with the suppliers and logistics service provider, and also the most critical is when it comes to the currency exchange rates as well. Okay, because again, in Malaysia also is affected. We heard about one company is going for closing their operations, and again it will affect others as well. Okay, so that's what required. And when it comes into the supply, okay, again, because of when we talk about a global supply chain, always remember that our suppliers may not coming from local area, but also it may come from the other side of the countries. Okay, so we can see that when you talk about the nature and the man-made disasters might happen, okay, or maybe could be the strikes happen in the other country. So in the other the suppliers places, and also the piracy as well. So all this need to be considered as well. Okay, so when you talk about anything happen in the at the supplier's place in the other side of the world, so indirectly it will disrupt with our productions as well. Okay, so this is where we can see due to earthquake, due to any disasters happen, so you can see that our production facility also will be disrupted, the transportation also will be disrupted, the supply also will be disrupted, and the most important is, again, nowadays we are talking about all this cybersecurity. We will talk about all these online things. So the information system also will be disrupted, because nowadays people plays with all the data. Okay, so when you talk about data, once you can have all those data, the World Data Bank, so you can see that we can just play around with this data, manipulating with this data. Okay, so all these are beyond our control as well. Okay, so besides this external reason, we also have our internal reason. Okay, what requires internal? Of course, we can control within our organization, and that is where we can look into how we decide whether we would like to have a single sourcing, where we can see it will be high risk on that as well. How we would like to have the 100% capacity utilization. Okay, how we ensure that we use and utilize our resources. How we came out with our batching production, how we came out with our contingency plan, anticipated with all the risks happen, and how we came out with our contingency plan, and how we look into our safety stock, whether we would like to have a low safety stock, and last but not least, we are talking about the safety technologies. And nowadays, I'm sure that since we are doing all these online things, I'm sure that the security, the cybersecurity is a must in any organization. How we ensure that the transactions online is safe and is secured, that is a must to have right now. Okay. All right. Next is we are looking into how we relate the performance, the resilience, and the sustainability. So when you talk about this concept, of course, in supply chain, we always associated with the input and the output. We have the supplier, we have the buyer. Okay, we have the resources, we have the products, and all this associated with the cost, okay, as the resources, as the input, and also as the output, the service level or the product itself. Okay, so all this need to be sustained. We need to sustain our input and we need to sustain our output as well. And in order to have this, we require the resilience. That's why we have a spring back. We need to adapt with whatever changes happen. Okay, so that is where the resilience comes in. Okay, let's go through what it means by this resilience. I go very fast, yeah? Okay, resilience is the ability to maintain, to execute, to recover the planned execution along with the achievement of the planned performance. Meaning that if we are doing what we are doing right now, something happened, okay, disruption happened. So how we want to execute it and how we want to recover it fast, okay? So that is how you try to adapt with the new changes. So that is, in order to do that, it can be divided into the pre-disruption and the post-disruption. So in order to stay resilient, we can see for the pre-disruption, we require to have the preparedness and also the mitigation. So these two needed in order for us to stay resilient. Okay, so when it comes into a global supply chain, of course, we need to look into the preparedness by identifying the risk monitoring and control, and also how we want to mitigate by creating the structural and the parametric robustness. So how we can adjust on that. Okay, once disruptions happen, we never thought it happened, suddenly it happened. Now, how to sustain now, how to be resilient. Again, we might have these two actions. We may have the stabilization and also recovery. So for the post-disruption, when you talk about the stabilization, how we would like to preserve our operations. So what are our key areas, our niche areas, how we want to preserve our secret traits, our secret traits for the stabilization, how we want to get our customers' loyalty. Okay, so all this may come with the contingency plan as well. And for the recovery, this is how we adapt with the new changes. Okay, so came up with the adaptation, learn to change, and at the same time also it may have a long-term impact minimization. So once we are so fast to do the adaptation, so we can see that you will be more resilient as well as for that. Okay. All right.
Excuse me, Dr. Shatina, we have 5
Yes.
minutes left.
All right.
Section.
Okay, just a few more minutes. Okay, then fine.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Miss Rana. Okay, this is when it comes into the resilience. You can see here, we are talking about the robustness, resilience, and flexibility. And I just want to share here that when you talk about the robustness, we are talking about how we guarantee the performance over a wide range of uncertainties. And when it comes into the resilience, it requires redundancy and flexibility. And this is where we are looking into the flexibility. And from these, we are looking into the proactive and the reactive actions as well. So this is where the part for this organization, for the global supply chain, we need to be a proactive actions and also the reactive actions as well. All right, this is the ripple effect. As what we know, the ripple effect, okay, the concept of these disruptions, because of it's just like a water drops, it will ripple others, okay, it will disrupt others in the supply chain. And this is where you can see it impact the disruptions of the supply chain performance. It may have the propagation and it may disrupt based on the scope of changes and in the structures and also in the parameters as well. So you can see here, these are the research done by this Ivanov, Dalgo, and Sokolov as well. Okay, all right. How we relate with this resilience and ripple effect? Again, you can see here, the ripple effect requires with the robustness, resilience, flexibility, and stability. And you can see here, it relates with the risk mitigation, okay, capacity, and backup facilities. And for the flexibility, you can see requires the proactive and reactive. And finally, for the parametric recovery, the process recovery, and also structural recovery. Okay, all right. So this is some of the resilience and ripple effect controls. So I'm not going to figure out details. This is just like elaborations on the reasons how we can become as more leanness, and also how we relate with the complexity and the countermeasures on that. This is just like elaboration of the diagram that I shared earlier. Okay. All right. How to protect the supply chain? Okay, we are almost at the end already. So again, when you talk about this flexibility, so you can see that we may have our coordination strategies. Okay, we may have with the process and product flexibility. We may have our batching and the lead time, and also with the dual or multiple sourcing. Okay, and when we talk about redundancy, okay, we can also look into how we came up with some buffer system, okay, for the inventory. We can also have redundant capacities, okay, the backup suppliers, information system backup, and also the financial reserve. And last but not least, when we talk about the organization, we are talking about the security, supply chain security. We need also to identify the risk management as part of the asset organization. We have to embed the risk management, the early warning system, Okay, we also require with the collaborative information system, the integrated system, and also the contingency plans. All right, these are some of the capabilities that requires. So when you talk about the flexibility, it requires flexibility in the system, okay, for the redundancy, flexibility in the system for the coordinations and integration. We also talk about the flexibility in the product by having a modularization or postponement or standardization, and also requires flexibility in the process based on the flexibility and the real-time production as well. Okay, so all this required under the capabilities. Okay, how we relate with this? Okay, so we're almost at the end to come up with a framework. So this is where we are looking into how to improve the performance, the upgrades here. So we'll see that in order to stay resilient, we need to understand the vulnerabilities and also our capabilities. How we reduce our vulnerabilities and how we increase our capabilities. So we might see the three situations. The first one, we have the unbalance where we have a high vulnerability and we have a low capabilities. That leads to excessive risk. That is very dangerous as well. The second situation, we have a low vulnerabilities, but we have so much on capabilities. Okay, so we have our resources, we have the capabilities, but however, we have a low vulnerabilities. So that is not a good sign as well, because sometimes we may erode our profitability. Okay, the best situation is where we balance up our portfolios of capabilities and also the patterns of vulnerabilities. So meaning that we try to improve performance. We try to adjust and adapt with the changes happen, okay, in order to stay resilient. Last but not least, this is where the framework will be, okay? So of course, in running any supply chain, in running our global supply chain, in running our businesses, of course, we are looking into this framework. In any organization, we would like to reduce our cost definitely, and we would like to increase our service level. But in order to do that, of course, requires redundancy here, we require robustness and flexibility here, and requires responsiveness here. Okay, and in order to do that, of course, we need to understand our pre-disruption and the post-disruption, and this is where we are looking into when we talk about the pre-disruption, how we prepared with our activities, how we prepared with our strategies, okay, with the risk, and also how we mitigate it. And for the post-disruption, this is where how we identify, how we stabilize our operations, and also how we adapt with our recovery, how fast we came up with our recovery. Okay, with that, this is some of my references. With that, thank you very much, and you may contact me at this number or email me as well. Thank you very much, Ms. Rana. So all yours for that. Thank you very much for the opportunity as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shatina. If I would like to recap a little bit, as you mentioned before about social, economy, environment. So actually, people nowadays mention it with triple P. 3P. What is 3P? People, profit, and planet.
Planet.
So it's commonly, yeah.
Yes, it's commonly used.
People talk about it. Yeah.
So
Okay.
true.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you
So
very much. Thank you, Ms. Rana. Thank you. I will stop sharing now. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, now we are moving forward to from the speaker from from the University of Sultan Syarif Ali Brunei Darussalam. Please welcome Dr. Hakimah binti Yaakob.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Allahumma
warahmatullahi
salli ala
wabarakatuh.
sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wasallim. Right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Organizer, allow me to share the screen. My screen visible to everyone?
Yeah, it is, Doctor.
Okay. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, thank you so much for University Medan area for inviting me, and this currently I'm Dr. Nasir on behalf of University Sultan Sharif Ali. Would like to express our gratitude and thankful to University Medan for inviting us for this presentation. And we are focusing currently on the research on disruption of financial supply chain during pandemic and wartime, focusing more on the providing alternative platforms in financial supply chain. And our focus is basically on the financial management as well as the operations, as what has been informed by the Professor Dr. Shatina just now. She actually talking about both the ripple effects as well as the blue effects. So mine is basically focusing more on the financial effects, on how the financial systems are being affected due to wartime, and we are focusing on Ukraine as well as Russian war at the moment, as well as the few sanctions that has been imposed on other nations and jurisdictions, for example, North Korea, as well as the Iran. Okay. Well, when talking about the cash management as well as financial supply chain, we are concerned about the products of the three elements, i.e. procure to pay, as well as working capital management and the order to cash cycle. And through this system or through these elements, we can see that the financial supply chain basically refers to monetary transaction between trading partners that facilitate the purchase, product, as well as sale of goods and services. And when we talk about the FSCM or financial supply chain management, is actually looking into all your financial processes at the holistic level rather than viewing them as individual processes. And basically it involves end-to-end processes and working capital management as well as the cash cycle business processes. And in terms of the factors, if we can see so our discussion today is basically to focus what are the effects of disruptions to the current regimented control system due to exiting or delisting from the current financial system, and the possible alternative should the above two takes effects. When it comes to the these objectives, we have to analyze what are the disruptions, what caused the main disruption in financial supply system, right? What are the main costs in the supply chain, financial supply chain is basically comes from the system that we adopt today in the financial global transactions. For your information, how the global financial supply works is actually through we call it through a pyramid system, where the above or the highest level of in the what I term it in my book as layer 1. To understand how the global framework, how the global system, financial system works, is actually to understand it works within the layers. The first layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3. So in the layer 1 is actually consists of the several institutions that comes from the international entity established within within the Second World War until today. We have few entities, for example, IMF, World Bank. We have Bank of International Settlements, which are the convening. They convene all the central bank governors under the BIS as well as SWIFT. That's what we have been, it's a hot issue nowadays about the SWIFT transactions processes. All the banks has been from the Russia has been cut off from the SWIFT transaction under the EU directives. And we have also the money laundering part, which is the Financial Action Task Force, and they also play a very important role to stop or to prohibit some of the, or to impose sanctions on countries which reviews or to comply with certain directives that have been issued by these entities. Another one is basically US law. Financial regulations actually very much control under the more than 46 laws exist in the US. And that's why you can see when we have the issue of 1MDB, which is the US Treasury Department will actually interfere into the transactions as well as other jurisdictions that supply all the information due to the US law that they have imposed through some of the intergovernmental agreement, such as FATCA or OECD agreement or GATT-CA, which supplies information to all the nations and jurisdictions. Apart from that, we have also the United Nations Security Councils, which impose sanctions to these countries. And as well, we know that from the layer 1, all these regulations and directives will be passed over to the layer 2 through the central bank. And from the central bank, this will be disseminated to all the local layer 3 local financial institutions. So from there, they have the very rigid and regimented control system. And should you not comply with all the regulations from the layer 1, they will strictly stop the system or the operation. For example, the SWIFT, the code for the purchasing codes of trading code transactions that they have currently imposed on Russia as well as Iran and North Korea. So more or less, what we have in the financial system currently is basically a system where we are inheriting from the layer 1 mostly, as well as from the international organizations under the name of compliance. That's why in the reporting, and the IMF will be deciding the countries whether they are in compliance with the regulations and directive is through the reporting that they have made through the FSAP or Financial Stability Assessment Program, comes from the different kinds of jurisdictions. From there, they know whether you are in compliance or not. And as what we can see, the disruption of financial supply chain can be caused by 2 ways. One is the system destruction itself, one system exiting. One of the system destruction is basically can be caused through external and internal. For example, like external can be caused by cyber attack, right? Prof. Dr. Shatina has touched about the cyber attack, which sometimes is beyond the control of the provider. And from the internal disruption, is can be caused by the authority themselves. For example, like European Commission has announced to move several banks, Russian several banks, from being delisted using SWIFT transactions, as well as from being under the BIS or Bank of International Settlements. So basically, the governors of the Russian bank, central bank, will no longer be under the BIS or Bank of International Settlement. Right, and there are also other sanctions that have been imposed, for example, stopping them from using the payment MasterCard as well as Visa. And I think Russia actually has started to initiate their own protocol, which I will be explaining later. And system exit can be done by lack of trust. Why? Because as you can see, China and Russia has more confidence in creating their own protocol. For example, China has created chips, while Russia has created FPSFS. Right, there's a system of payment protocol which is internally conducted and adopted by the member countries who do transactions and trading with Russia or China. And system exit also can be occurred through internal protocol when they want to have independent as well as less control from the layer 1, from the layer that we have discussed just now. Right, so these are the causes of the disruptions in the operations as well as systems, which is control, because currently we are too much relying on one system as in the financial system, right? And we are too regimented and controlled by the layer 1. So if anything happens and should they impose any sanctions or regulations, we are too bounded and too tight to get up from this layer one system of operations. So this also may cause total disruptions to the financial institutions. And as we know, is the heart of every jurisdiction in every country. You must have a stable financial institutions to ensure that your economic stability. Okay, one of the example is that we have the control system. We have the cyber attack examples that they have, because when we have this system, there is actually interoperability. The bank communicate with each other through the system of coding or system that they have, protocols that they have adopted. So once the cyber attack happens, for example, we have SWIFT cyber attack previously answered to the Bank of Bangladesh, stolen money using like 950,000 billions of dollars. Far Eastern International Bank in Taiwan, Chile as well as Vietnam. So they have actually suffered a lot due to the SWIFT cyber attack themselves. So as claiming by the OECD, the G20 countries, that because SWIFT actually regulated and controlled in German, so they are based in German, and those G20 countries control the operations of the SWIFT, and the is quite surprising to have this SWIFT cyber attack throughout. This is only the study from the 2015 until 2017. We have a lot of other unreported, as well as the previous years, or even latest. We have more cyber attacks happens around the world due to the rising of the cryptos as well as digital currency at the moment. And so these are the countries that we have, especially Russia, Iran, and North Korea, that has been sanctioned so far. And for your information, this SWIFT is not some prohibition on using SWIFT. It's not something new for the world, because before Russia, we have Iran, we have North Korea, and even some of the countries has been stopped from using the payment system. So what am I proposing here? We are proposing is basically through this these are the examples of the banks, top Russian banks that has been stopped from using the SWIFT, and we are proposing in this paper basically. Sorry,
Dr. Hakima, but could you please make it bigger, the pages, by clicking the slideshow button?
Yeah. Is this clear?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. So we are actually providing alternative, proposing to provide alternative as what the banks of Russia are currently using the FFPS, and the alternative to currently the China actually providing is using the chips, and we for when the world actually stopped Russia from using their Visa MasterCard, it's not a problem for them, because they already adopted a new alternative, i.e. MIR. They call it MER, and MER means world, right? So they're using that, and then China, they can use the PayPal as well from the China assistance. So this is why we need to have alternatives in our payment instruments as well as payment system. For example, Malaysia, we do have rentas. Should the rentas being stopped, or we should actually adopt another alternative in order to save for the safety reasons in financial transactions, to avoid any disruptions in future. And we have also comes into the there are other apart from this call it China and Russia are actually the one that creating the protocols. Other countries also are very interested to join in to become the members and subscribe into these internal protocols. And maybe a sister from Turkey also can highlight or can update us whether Turkey also has updated on adopting the alternatives such as chips or PayPal, as well as Mer for the payment of MasterCard and credit card, as well as the FPMS that was introduced by Russia. And because at the moment we cannot be so complacent due to the fact that the global financial attack is there, and then we have to make sure that our financial institutions are at call it stable positions to ensure those sustainability. And in terms of the towards alternative, I would actually urge the the member countries, especially ASEAN, to go and adopt the existing alternatives or create a new protocols in order for us to ensure the sustainability in financial operations. And what we can observe is that our observations comes to the conclusions that apart from SWIFT, the control supply chain may also affect the following in terms of reporting and financial stability assessment program, which was under the IMF, as well as the money laundering and the financing terrorism, because this is all in layer 1. And the list can go beyond this 4 list, it can go more, right? And if to conclude is basically the current disruption has caused effects not only on the financial supply chain, but also in global trade. And nations, especially ASEAN and member countries dependent on the financial arrangement, should adopt alternatives to avoid disruptions in the financial global supply chain. And due to a very regimented as well as control system in the financial supply, we urge the member countries to have to come up with the innovation, right, to the existing alternative, to become a member to the existing alternative, such as CHIPS as well as SPFS, or you create your own protocols and invite the member countries for those who have trade with you, right, for those who have interest with you, right, to adopt your own protocols in order to avoid disruptions in the financial supply chain. And alternative also comes from additional player, like inventing new protocols to ensure trade or financial interest is not disrupted, is due to being too dependent on one protocols. I believe that's conclude my presentations. Thank you so much, Ms. Rana.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Hakima. As you mentioned before, the financial supply also attack the global trade, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Hakima. Now we are moving forward to the Vice President of International Supply Chain Institute of Professionals from Canada. Please welcome Dr. Moniruzzaman. Sorry, Dr. Moniruzzaman. Okay.
Dr. Moniruzzaman, I think, is here.
Yeah, I will unmute Dr. Moniruzzaman. Okay, yeah, please, Dr.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. I'm very glad and very happy today meeting and getting all the scholars on a virtual platform from many countries, even also some participants from Bangladesh. I am very happy and very much thanks to Ahmed Rafiki, Dean of University Maidan area. Actually, I'm very grateful to you. You have invited me. First of all, actually, all praise goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has actually kept us okay now, even sound during this pandemic time. We are really grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala much. So thank you everybody. I would like to share my slide if you allow me.
Wait a minute, Dr. Monirul Zaman. I will
Okay.
check about the co-host of yours.
Yeah. My sound is okay?
Yeah, your voice is okay. It's clear.
Okay. I see a lot of participants today. So how many countries actually we are getting participants today in our virtual platform on the global supply chain discussion?
For the speakers is 5 countries, but for the audiences it's many more than 5 countries actually.
Some candidates from Bangladesh also.
Yeah, because before we are coming to 10 o'clock, some of the audiences mentioned that they are from Bangladesh.
Yeah, Bangladeshi brothers are requested to write your name and BD at least, comma BD in your ID of the Zoom, so that everybody can identify you, recognize you, who are from Bangladesh, who are from other countries, Brunei, Malaysia, Indonesia.
I'm sorry, Dr. Monirul
Okay, if there is problem, no problem. Rana Fatina, I would like to actually discuss today's topic without slide also, no problem. If you allow, okay. If you cannot, no problem. I am.
No, you are allowed.
Okay. Okay. So
for a couple of minutes, sir.
Can I start without slide if you allow?
We have talked to the IT person, so please wait for about 2 minutes.
Okay, no, you can try. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Keep trying
So you
that.
are being the co-host now. Yeah, please.
Now I can. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible, but please click the slideshow
Okay.
button to make it a larger screen.
Okay. Okay. Little more.
Yeah, a little more. The slideshow is on the red lines, red lines below. There is the slideshow button. I think you can click on it.
Now it's okay, or little more?
Well, yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Okay. I'm Mr. Monirul Zaman. Actually, I'm related with 3 institutes, 2 in Canada and 1 in Bangladesh. I am also president of Bangladesh Institute of Supply Chain Management and vice president of International Supply Chain Institute of Professionals, Ontario, Canada. And another institute name is Canadian Vision Vocational and Vocational Institute in Canada also. I didn't mention here. Okay, then we can go next slide for discussion. This supply chain. Actually, supply chain cover the whole operation. This is also short brief about me. I'm also consulting some companies, national and multinational. Even I'm also guest lecturer of Putra Business School, University of Putra, Malaysia. Adjunct faculty of International Institute of Human Resource Management, Ontario, Canada. And regular member of CFA Institute, USA. Board member of Canadian Vocational Institute and Academy, Ontario, Canada. And also member of some institute and agencies you can see. Now another in this page you will find some international brand. We are actually indirectly related with this. I'm the team member of a team who are actually working for this top level brand in the globe, in USA, Canada, other countries also. Even they are operation also a lot of countries, even in Bangladesh also, even Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei. So we have some experience with this. So now I would like to go for basic supply chain. Actually, now supply chain is very much demanded. Why? Why we are very shouting? We are seriously shouting for supply chain. 20 years before we didn't do, but now we are doing. Now we are calling international seminar. Now we are discussing, we are analyzing, we are collecting data. So what is the actually reason behind it? Why supply chain is very important for all the people in the world? Day by day, business is facing a huge competition. Now, some companies in the world, they are directly, indirectly leading the countries. Suppose some companies name Amazon, name Walmart, name other companies in Microsoft. So some companies
Sorry.
you all know.
Sorry, doctor.
Yeah, sound is okay.
Yeah, it sounds okay, but could you please, from the red lines below, there's like a little window to click to make it larger by slideshow. On the right below.
Can I make it bigger?
Yeah, but you can only just click the slideshow button, so you don't have to make it zoom.
Is it okay, or make it more bigger?
Okay, so actually it's okay, but it's better for you to make it to turn on the slideshow button on the red lines below. On the right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just please go on, sir.
Prof, can you press the button? There is like a glass there, down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one. Down there. There is like a glass. No, beside that.
Beside that.
No, down there. Down, Prof. There is a slideshow button. How to say it?
Is it okay, or is it visible?
Yes, visible, but not optimum. Look.
Okay, I got it.
There is one button, Prof. Down there, Prof. Down. Can you see there is a logo?
Oh, small, very small.
And no, doctor. It's like a picture of glass of the red lines below. Besides, you can see the words slides of yours, but it's on the right hand.
Not okay. Huh? Not properly okay.
Yeah, it's not yet, sir.
1 minute, I can. Not clear to you, right?
Okay, yeah, I think you can just go on it, sir. It's okay, it's okay. It's more visible now.
Not clear. Dr.
It's okay.
Rafiki, not clear, brother?
It is okay, Prof, actually. But if you can press a button there, down there, when you drag maximum
Or drag?
plus and minus, down there, down, Prof. How to show? No need to do that, Prof. There is plus and minus.
Okay,
sign.
plus minus.
There is plus and minus sign, right?
Okay.
And then there is okay. Beside that, there is glass there. Glass. Can you see the glass logo? No. Beside that.
Oh, this area.
No. Down there, Prof. Just beside minus sign there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Understand.
Yeah. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, please go
So
on,
now is
sir.
okay?
Yeah, it's okay. It's totally okay.
Okay. So actually, what is supply chain? All stage of supply chain involved directly, indirectly with all important parts of the manufacturing items, or we can say all the parts of the business. It includes all the important parts of the business total. Suppose sourcing of raw materials, then we are doing manufacturing, then we are also just storing. After that, we are also keeping it warehouse, and then we are moving to its customer through the retailers. So from the suppliers to customer, all the parts like manufacturing, transportation, even warehouse, retailers, or even our company's internal part and external part, all are actually involved with the supply chain process. We cannot ignore single part of the business which is not important to the supply chain. Rather, supply chain include whole the process and all the parts. That is why we can see here within each company, supply chain includes all functions involved in fulfilling a customer request. Our target to make the customer happy end of the day. So to make the customer happy, we need to develop very good product, desirable product, and at the good price, good quality, and we should also use very good marketing policy through the operations, and we should be very careful about the distribution. Even finance cost also very important here, because while you are doing business, if you are not careful about the finance cost, then you can end of the day you will not make profit. That means you will not add value. So here actually these parts are involved, or these functions of the operation are involved in the supply chain to create value in the business with the product. So that is why all the time we are very much careful regarding the customer, as customer is the integral part of the supply chain, and our final goal to make happy customer, when customer want, how customer want, what customer want, and after delivering product to customer also, we need to be careful what their reaction, what their feedback, what they want later on. So that is why it includes the movement of products from suppliers to manufacturer to distributor through the information, also using funds and products in both directions, actually we are very much careful every part and aspects to save money and keeping the quality of the good level and to reach the customer at the due time and to make them happy. So it may be more accurate to use term supply chain network or supply chain wave. So total operation, total connection is the supply chain network. So typically supply chain stage, customer, retailers, distributor, manufacturer, suppliers are actually the major part. But beside this, we have to also careful about the minor parts, which is also related with the customers, retailers, distributors, manufacturers, and suppliers. We will discuss later on also. So all stages may not be present in the supply chain. Suppose sometime some companies from production house, we are directly distribute the product to customer, from the manufacturer to customer like that. So in that case, retailers and distribution cannot be come. That means that supply chain all the time, not mandatorily. That means all the time it will not use these terms or use this function. That will be available after the, I think, next slide. So what is the supply chain? You can see the actually on this graph we can explain from the timber company who is supplying timber, that means tree, that means wood. From wood we are making paper. Paper why? For packaging, for or as accessories to the company, and also company need many chemical, also need plastic producer, plastic container, plastic packaging also. So Procter & Gamble is a suppose manufacturer. So they need also chemical, they need also packaging, either plastic or paper. If paper need, then they contact the plastic paper supplier. So paper supplier have also supplier of wood supplier. Wood supplier also contact with the who have connection with the forest or who have the wood plantation like this. So this is backward linkage, and they have the connection with the supplier. So here chemical manufacturer also supplier to Procter & Gamble is a very renowned company in the world. So and they are supplier of Walmart or any third party. Suppose even Amazon also have connection with the Procter & Gamble, Unilever, even other renowned company also, they are supplying goods to Walmart or Amazon or you can say Tesco or suppose Coca-Cola or anybody like this, lot of companies. So Walmart, what they have own store, sometimes they are also supplying to other. Even they also directly supply to customer. So this is the process, the supply chain. So now supply chain have two upward flows and downward flows. You can see upward is supplier to manufacturer, distributor, sometimes supplier to directly retailer, supplier to even manufacturer to distributor, sometimes manufacturer to direct retailer or manufacturer to direct customer. So this way there are a lot of functions. So manufacturer sometimes they use distributor retailer, sometimes cannot use. Say for example, manufacturer Unilever is producing goods. We can directly buy Unilever item from their own outlet or their distributor or a shop beside my house. This shop is giving me suppose a perfume or made by Unilever. So and my shop beside my company house, they are also collecting from distributor of Unilever. So this way I can collect from directly manufacturer, or I can collect from distributor, or I can collect from retailer. So there are a lot of ways here. So this is very important to supply chain planners to keep in their mind, considering the environment, considering the business situation. analyzing the risk during the all time. So they according to their business analyzing the business policy, they are using this policy to sustain in the market, to make the happy customer. Even they can take this policy considering their situation. This is not actually fixed for all time. This depends on the actually market demand and the pricing policy of the market or situation of the market. Suppose Corona during COVID-19. So we have collected, some medicine from local pharmacy, sometimes also from the pharmaceutical company also. So this is actually the situational demand. So supply chain planners, supply chain professionals, leaders, they will keep in their mind that what customer want, how they are thinking, what they are thinking, when and what they are thinking. So all the questions they will analyze according to their past data. Even sometimes also past data cannot work. Suppose pandemic, break the all analysis of the past data. Why? Because suddenly, some medicine of pandemic or COVID-19, it has created huge demand in the market. Suddenly, nobody didn't consider that what will have, in 1919 or 1980 or suppose 5 years back or 2 years back, we didn't consider that the corona will come. But when it came, then we were bound to just revise our policy, business philosophy, business analysis. So next, you can see that how supply chain works actually. So supply chain, raw material, sourcing raw materials to the customer, and there are a lot of function inside. Suppose raw materials go to the vendors through the transport. So transport also, there are a lot of transport. Mode of transport also different. It can be air, it can be ship, it can be road, or it can be any third party. I can collect raw materials from air if I need emergency case, though it is very expensive. So Walmart need some seasonal product like this warm cloth at the winter. So they collect this and they are making plan that when winter will come, before 4 months before, they made plan to just collect cloth or warm cloth from Bangladesh or India or China or other countries. So Walmart is very serious to consider it, because if they use transport, air transport, airlines is very expensive. So they cannot charge them more on the product from the customer. So that is why they should use ship. So if they use ship, so how many months before they should bring it from Bangladesh? And before the bringing it, how many months before they should contact the manufacturer in Bangladesh? So this way, the supply chain planners are very much careful about their, transport, mode of transport, and also they are using the inventory regarding this. They are also keeping how 3 months inventory they will keep, or 2 months, or 1 month, or 6 months. So this depend on the analysis, because if you keep more inventory, then it will create more cost. Finance cost will be here. If you have zero inventory, your finance cost will be very low. So, but if you have zero inventory, how you will supply? How you will make the product available to the customers, or to your distributor, or to your retailers? So in that case, you have to the analysis about this. So this graph, working to give you the idea that how you should work for global supply chain, because you are company from you have company in USA. You are the supplier of the customer of USA, but you are sourcing from China or Asian countries like India, Bangladesh, or Sri Lanka, or Malaysia, say for example. But you have to have good plan, so that you can make product available at good quality, even at good pricing. For this, your transportation is very, very important. Even your plan should be very effective, so that you can make product available at the low cost, at high quality. Otherwise, your customer will be not yours after end of the day. That means any competitors will come in the market, enter into the market, and you make you loser for the business. That means you will lose your customer if you are not very much serious and very much good planning about this. So these way, transportation, you see, raw materials, sourcing raw materials, vendor needs transportation, even distribution channel, they are also using transportation. Even customer, when you want to reach the product to customer, then this is also need transportation. So what you will use? Ship or road? That means water or road or air. There are three modes of transportation. So this supply chain is working here. So you have to have the very good information regarding this and analysis to make a good plan, so that you can execute good operation in your business to make your customer happy. So total business is depend on the good supply chain planning. Without good supply chain planning, no business will be good during this very competitive business. Now world is facing very competitive in the market. All countries, all the companies, you cannot imagine. So that is why to sustain in the market, you have to have a good planning. So types of supply chain links, here you can see that the customers, if you just work for customer, if you want to do, then you have to consider some issues. This link and tier 2, 3, and 1, you can see that how they're working with the companies. So first of all, you can see that initial supplier. Who are the initial supplier? That may suppose cotton, initial supplier. Then from cotton to it can go to the just thread, who are making thread. Then from the thread, some people are making fabrics. From the fabrics, people are making shirt or dress. Then it go to the wholesaler. Then wholesaler to retailer, retailer to end user, that means final customer. So in this graph, you can see that very much challenging business. So if you take any wrong decision, you will not sustain in the market. So supply chain actually are very much serious. They are to coordinate in these types of links. So how they will take good decision, correct decision, and fruitful decision. Decision can be, but it should be fruitful. So that is why these three tiers are connected with the three customers. Wholesaler also customer to the people, even retailer also customer to the wholesaler, and final customer, end user also customer to the retailers. So these three tiers are also sourcing from where? Supplier. So supplier have also another supplier. First supplier have tier 2 supplier. Tier 2 supplier also have tier 3 supplier. So that is, I think, clear to you. If you have any question, end of the discussion, you can ask me. Then next, we can go. The objective of supply chain, I have already told. Now I would like to say that the simple one sentence. Objective of a supply chain to create value. Value is the very important, and that is why we are calling a lot of seminars, analysis. A lot of scholars we are calling to discuss and analyze. So this actually object to create value for the customers. Why customer will come to me? Lot of suppliers, lot of producer, lot of sellers, but why he will or she will buy from my product, from me also? Why? All the time we should just analyze this. There is no alternative without that. The supply chain to maximize overall value. That is why that is called, we are also selling, we are calling also supply chain surplus. Supply chain value minus supply chain cost. This the difference is the supply chain surplus, and this surplus is value. Example, a customer purchases a wireless router from Best Buy. Best Buy is a local company in Bangladesh. This is also group of is a part of a group of company. So this cost is 60. This wireless router price is $60. So supply chain incurs cost, information for the information, storage, transportation, components, assembly, everything. They are the cost center. So the cost is total here, 20. Oh, cost is 40. But here difference is 60 minus 40. Difference is 20. Is 20 is the surplus, and this is the value. So this value is the target of the supply chain leaders. All the supply chain planners, supply chain people are serious to ensure highest, surplus, maximum surplus. So this is the supply chain profitability is also supply chain profit to be shared across the all stages of the supply chain. In that case, you will find that the success will be then when you will get maximum profit. If you can maximum profit, then you will sustain. Competitor will not come. But you have to ensure that your customer is happy. That means happiness, you will calculate how much happy. That means more happy means you are successful. If you are making money profit, but customer is not happy, this is not actually surplus. Surplus is customer, how customer consider the benefit on your service or on your product. Either you can be service oriented company, or you can be the product manufacturer, FMG, or like this. So whatever you are, but you have to ensure that you consider more value on your company. So sources of cost includes flows of information. What I already said, that the cost include what? Information on IT also on cost. It incur cost production also part, even fund also. So this is the major part of total cost of the supply chain. Then when you are selling to the customer and customer want to pay you more, this is the difference is the surplus, and this is the value. Then we can go for next. You can give the supply chain decisions. Walmart, just there is an example. Walmart, their sale was in 1980 $1 billion, but 2010 it came to 408 billion. 1980 to 2010. So 1 billion and 408 billion, around 407 billion more last few years. That is why what happened. That means operation is now big and very complex. So you are not at the very small level. Your operational level is very big. Your sale volume became bigger day by day. So that is why you have to be very much meticulous, very much sensible, very much sincere in operation. That is why supply chain you need. You have to every stage. You have to become serious in every stage, every day, even every second. 7-Eleven in Japan, their operation sales also 1 billion like this in 1974, but in 2009 it came 3 trillion. That means 2 trillion more. 1 billion to 3 trillion. 1 billion, but 3 trillion. So how much multiple of this? Even you can see Borders, Dell was 2006 it was 56 billion. adopt new supply chain strategies. They came to this. Now also 2022, you can consider their operation sales. So day by day, they are going bigger. Their operation going to be big. So that is why they are facing huge competition and huge operational complex and a lot of risks. So that is why they have to be serious about it. So now we can go for next decision phase of the supply chain. Actually, supply chain strategy or design, first it has three phases. Three phases. One phase is is supply chain strategy for the several years. Actually bigger. And another phase is supply chain planning. That is for 1 year or a quarter like this. Choose 4 months, 6 months. You can. This is supply chain planning. But supply chain difference between supply chain planning and strategy is that strategy for many years, or planning for 1 year or less than like that. But supply chain operation is daily or weekly. So if you consider the supply chain phases, then you have to consider three. One is strategy, planning, and operation. Operation daily and planning yearly like this, and design or strategy for several years. That means you have to have the good structure. So this is the planning is very important. Otherwise, suddenly you cannot take good decision. You will destroy the business. So that is why a lot of companies are seeking, very good planner, good, very knowledgeable people who have, basic on the supply chain, who are expert in artificial intelligence, who have good forecasting knowledge, who have, data analysis, who are very expert in this. So in supply chain, we are also teaching them. So supply chain strategy, is bigger one for several years. I have said the supply chain decision, the location, you have to consider location for several years. When you will take decision for several years, you have to decide, you have to analyze the location. Which location will be good for and fit for your business, and even you have to think about the product. You will, if you need any innovation, you can do, and even product will be made or subcontract. That means you will collect, buy or make. You will supply to customer. Okay, we got it. But what do you want to do? Making is good or buying is good. Sometimes buying good to make profit. Sometimes if you have own plant, own manufacturing unit, then also good. Even mode of transportation, which transport you should use. So this mode of transportation also connected with a lot of issues. You have to keep in your mind. Transportation you are using. You will suppose you have your order is only 5 ton. So for 5 ton, you will use large transportation or small transportation. On 40 feet at container, you are bringing small quantity. This is wastage. Even this is cost that will be expensive for you. So this way you should use transportation. You are importing using the air. This is also which item you should bring through air, which item through ship, which item through a road. So you have to calculate. You have to consider analyzing the data. Okay, information system also very important here because it crosses the whole operation. Either you are the people from finance or marketing or sales team. You are working, or you are working in the plant, factory, wherever you are working. Information you have to have updated. Otherwise, suppose you have your salesman said the customer that sir, I will give you product, but he don't know your store have no product, your warehouse have no product, but he already took order from the customer. After 1 day later, he said, sorry sir, I cannot give you because I didn't know that my warehouse have no product. That is why information is very important. You have to be very, very updated and very authentic information you have to have before you on your screen, on your reporting, so that you can give the right information to the customer. because marketing is very important. Marketing people say, I will give you product, but no, they don't have in their pipeline. So that is why this is important. Okay, then supply chain must support strategic objectives. And next one, we can go for supply chain planning. This is for 1 year like this, or 6 months like this. So this is a short-time operation actually. Supply chain planning is for short-time operation. Okay, fixed by the supply chain, supply configuration from the previous phase. We are actually consider previous phase, previous data to forecast the demand. Suppose upcoming year, what can be my demand? Or next year, what can be? Or after 6 months, what can be? So that is what we do. We normally analyze the market. We develop the plan of the inventories, and also we are contacting this subcontractor for the as a backup. Even sometimes we have backup location also. So inventory policy is also very important here, because inventory is very important here. You need inventory, but inventory also sometimes keep making your business very expensive. If you have bulk quantity inventory, then finance cost will be there. But if you don't have available product in the inventory, then also you cannot do business. So what will you do? You will do like Walmart. What Walmart is doing in the inventory policy, they are not storing product, but they are keeping product the store of the suppliers, and getting order, they are just communicate with the supplier that send my product this time. But a lot of big companies nowadays, they are using the suppliers warehouse, not own all the time. Sometimes also they should use own. When you should use own warehouse, when you should use the suppliers in warehouse, this is policy to save your business, to sustain in the business, to be successful business leader. So that is very important. And timing and size of the market operations is very important. That market size, suppose your market size is very small, but you are spending a lot of time. No, this is not good. That is why the timing and size of the market is very important to keep in your consideration. Okay, then we can go for next, the supply chain operations. Supply chain operation, time horizon is like this, only weekly, daily basis or weekly basis you are taking decision to operate your business. But mind it.
Excuse me, doctor. Sorry, doctor.
Yeah.
But you only have 5 minutes left for your section because we have limited of time.
Can you say me again? I am not getting your point.
Oh yeah. We have limited of time, doctor. So
few minutes.
Your section is 5 minutes left.
Okay, only 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your reminding. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Then actually the supply chain operation is daily basis, short-term operation. Just you should keep in what you should keep. You should keep in mind the inventory. That means allocate orders to inventory. That means your inventory is very far, or warehouse is very far, but you are supplying. Suppose Dhaka, I am, or you are suppose you are in Jakarta, but your inventory in Maidan, so you cannot perfectly communicate. But in that case, you have to decide that your sales unit or supply unit should be very close to inventory, and inventory also should consider that where they should keep the raw materials or production. So this way, they are also short-time decision. Their regular basis, they are updating, considering the customer need, customer location, customer taste, or customer time, or customer size. Suppose customer how much they want, and when they want, and where they want. So local daily basis sale. In case of daily basis sale, daily basis operation, you have to have revise your just planning as a supply chain decision. That is why these actually supply chain operation means the daily and weekly basis. You should revise it, you should execute it, and you should make the business fruitful to the customer, making them happy. Okay, then process view of the supply chain. Actually, the cycle view and the push-pull view. Cycle view, you can see that cycle view processes in a supply chain are divided into series of cycles, each performed at the interface between two successive supply chain stages. Suppose customer to retailer, distributor, manufacturer, and supplier. Again, supplier, manufacturer, distributor, retailer, customer, that on to another. That means cycle view. It is just come on to another. But push-pull is different. Push-pull is push-pull is different. Push-pull process is supply chain divided into two categories like this. That push means when you are making product, just forecasting the size of the customer need, then you are producing, then you just sell, but you don't know how much their demand, but you have idea. But pull is just previously they are taking order. Suppose foreign companies, suppose Bangladesh can order Indonesia to send electronics item. This order is related with the pull view, but push view is not. Push view is the Indonesian company can consider that which item is very demanded the whole the year. We can produce and we can sell, but pull view will not allow. Pull view is different. Pull view means if customer order me, then I will supply. No order, no supply. But push is without order, I will supply. This is very simple. Then we can go for next supply chain stage also. Cycle supply chain, you can see as time is very low, but I can see this, push pull, you can see push process and pull process. Customer order and the pull process has customer order, but push, no customer order. Then this is also push pull. Okay. Then push pull also few slides. Same item, just I have said the basic already. You can see later on. Okay, then supply chain macro process, three classification here. That is customer relationship management, very important, CRM, and internal supply chain management, ISCM, and supplier relationship management, SRM. So here, customer relationship management is very, very important all over the world, even Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, Bangladesh, Canada, America, everywhere. They are very sensible and very careful. The customer relationship, like a relation is very important. Otherwise, you will not pick the real data from the market. What customer need, how they give feedback, what they are doing. So what they are, even their taste, their liking, disliking also changing, day by day. My customer, tomorrow, today, who is my customer? Tomorrow, his or her choice can be changed totally. That is why customer relationship management, through this, I can collect data, I can give feedback, and I can get the real picture. So in that case, what should we consider? We should consider market, price, sale, call center, order management. CRM, customer relationship management. Market, price, sale, call center, and order management is the issues I should keep in mind. But internal supply chain management, the internal supply chain, our business, inside of the business, factory, okay, that is strategic planning, demand planning, supply chain planning, fulfillment, or field service. This is my just in-house of the business. We should consider these issues, we should analyze. But in case of supplier relationship management, but I should also, I am very careful about customer, but I am careless about supplier. This is big problem in the market. So I should also have good relation with the supplier, because supplier will help me. Supplier will give me good product, quality product, right time, at right price. Okay, so these three are very important supply chain macro process. So example of supply chain, actually I am, my time is very limited. So I would like to say you that these are the companies. I will not discuss all, just few. Zara, Walmart, I will discuss about Zara. Zara is the big European, big buyers, and they are suppliers of product items, even especially fabrics and textile item. They are sourcing from many countries for European market, for American market, Canada market also. But mostly they are supplying European market. So what advantage does Zara gain against the competition by having a very sensible supply chain? Okay, so advantage, if you see Zara all the time sourcing on big quantity from Bangladesh, though Bangladesh is a small and very far from Europe. But what is the reason? What is their competitive? What is the actually advantage? There are a lot of advantage here. They can get very good quality item at good price, and also Bangladesh also supply them according to their demand. So they are making happy their customer sourcing through Bangladesh. Even they are also sourcing from India also. So in that case, you can see that they are not actually all that they have not own factory. They are sourcing. They are mainly outsource based. Actually, they are doing business. So they are controlling the overall European market. They have enough capacity, and they are also maintain it at cheap rate. So Zara is sourcing product. Actually, sometimes they are facing uncertain demand also from the local manufacturers or product. They cannot imagine what is happening. But they have the good supply chain who are very much expert to predict the demand from the manufacturer of Asian countries. So they are actually Zara is a very good example. All the time they are sourcing very good quality item at very cheap price, and their service also very good. That means customer need also they can fulfill. So they also very responsive in replacement infrastructure. That means when any complaint come to Zara is that means Zara never allow just any compromisation with any bad quality. If they need any complaint on any change, any replacement, they do very quickly through online service or online sales. So they are actually now using online and retail. So they are doing, but they are very much responsive in replacement. So Zara is they have own design, they have own actually strategy, and they have own huge strong supply chain team who are helping Zara to just fulfill the demand of the customer. Okay, actually these are, you can consider Croata and also Amazon. These are the actual issues. I think as I have very limited time today, only maybe 2 minutes left. So I would like to ask you that if you have any question, please, you can ask me.
Well, thank you, Dr. Moniruzaman. Maybe some questions will be opened up for discussion section. As I recap from your presentation about the flow of supply chains, and there are manufacturer, distributor, retailer, and customers, and also how supply chain works from raw material sources, vendors and plants, distribution and staging facilities until the customers.
Actually, I cannot hear properly. Can you increase your sound?
Okay. What about the others? Is my voice clear?
Yeah, now is okay.
Okay. So I will recap about your presentations. As you present about the flow of supply chains from manufacturer, distributor, retailer, and customers, and also how supply chain works. And for the questions and answers, it will be open up for the next section in discussion section. But before that, we are moving forward to the presentation from Dr. Sule Eryuru, from the senior lecturer from KTO Karata University. So please welcome Dr. Sule Eryuru.
Thank you.
Should I send my slide to you or anybody? If you need, you can tell me later, okay? I'll send you.
Okay. Thank you for your invitation. Hello, everyone. I'm from Turkey, by the way, maybe the farthest country here. I am in, the western side of the Asia, and most of you, as I see, the far east side. I have been in Malaysia, but I haven't been in Indonesia yet. I'd like to as soon as possible. By the way, I am the head on, let me open and share my presentation, by the way. Just a minute. Okay. Can you see my presentation now?
Yeah, it has been shown up,
So,
but please turn on the slideshow button.
So you can
Yeah.
hear my voice properly?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let's start in the beginning. I am Shule Eryürik. I am the assistant prof doctor at the Department of Industrial Engineering, actually. My university is Kateo Karsai University, which in the city of Konya. Maybe you have heard about Mevlana before. So today I'd like to talk about generally the main issues, how to say what is reshaping the global supply chain. So we in this global seminar, I believe that most of the people know what the supply chain is. As I remember, let me remind the old times when I was in bachelor, when I remember the first time I heard the term supply chain, it has been almost 10 years, by the way. And when I heard the supply chain term, an engineer from Ford Cars, the producer, was explaining their supply chain in a seminar, and I was a bachelor student, and I saw the supply chain network on there, and I said that, wow, it is a really complicated one. And I just got afraid of actually, how will we supposed to manage it? It's so complex. And then I just couldn't get the importance of the supply chain issue there. And I was in Turkey, and the Ford is an American brand, and the seminar was in Turkey, and they are producing cars in many countries. So I was trying to understand the issue here. Yeah, supply chain is something global, and we have to understand this issue. If we need to talk about supply chain, we need to understand what is globalization at the beginning. So today I have three main topics. What is reshaping the global supply chain? And let me continue. First of all, the technology. And the second one, the globalization. And the third one, sustainability. I try to mention the reshaping issue of the supply chain in this, how to say, based on these three main topics. So I know we all know the technology. There are many trends. Some of them we know, some of them we don't know, some of them we hear, but we don't know the application. I try to explain some of the applications, some of the difficulties, some of the challenges, some of the opportunities that bring the technology for the supply chain management in the global way. And the globalization, not for example, if we are discussing about the local supply chain management issue, let's say, what is the globalization, in which way the globalization might affect it. And there are some new topics related to globalization. I will try to explain the deglobalization and globalization. Nowadays, especially after pandemic issue, we started to hear these terms. We all know, I'm sure in Turkey, we feel that deeply. Our supply chain distracted is very strictly. And also in many countries, I know that this has also happened very strictly. And there are three main issues that affected, but at the first, economically we are affected. And as an as an economic point, the cost has decreased. We all know that, but the after the cost issue, we have to define the maybe what can rechange this cost issue into how to say the how can we regain this loss by what should we change in our business, for example, network, for example, and the sustainability issue. Maybe you have heard there are 17 sustainable development goals, which was defined by the UNDP, and there are three parts we should talk about: the economical part, social part, and the environmental part here. So I'd like to continue from here, if you let me. So what should we talk about when we are saying technology? I am actually nowadays, my research is generally related the impact of technology. For example, you also heard before the digital transformation, industry 4.0, and these topics are also, of course, related to the supply chain issue. There is also a title and there is also a topic which is directly related to supply chain, which is supply chain 4.0, they say. So what can the supply chain 4.0 have impact on supply chain? As I say, the supply chain performance. It might be mostly there will be a positive impact. Why there will be a positive impact? Because the Industry 4.0 is generally based on the technological improvement related to the, as I will explain sooner, very sooner. So let's see the ERP programs or some IT technologies. So these IT technologies or CRM programs, let's say. So these programs will let us to see to have the transparency throughout the supply chain from beginning from supplier to the end user, and also from end user to, if we consider the reverse logistics or closed loop side, the have to say the waste issues, the recycle issues, we can consider the OEM issues. For example, we will create a transparency throughout the supply chain by using the IT technology. There are many applications here. We are reading, we are considering many companies, Siemens, like or other European, as I see, countries are using IT technologies for improving their supply chain performances. They are successful because they created the information sharing mechanism. I say it's a mechanism throughout their all supply chain. We all know that in supply chain there are three main issues. First one is the cash flow. Second one is the good flow, let's say, and the third one is the information flow. So we almost consider we generally consider, at first we try to create the networks for the good flows. Okay, so this is a little bit missing. So if we don't manage the information flow at the same time by considering the goods flow at the same time, the supply chain isn't strong enough, or let's say it is not agile, or it is not resilient, as Ms. Dr. Satina also said before. So I'd like to talk that nowadays we have to, if we have to stay alive in by our supply chains, especially in this pandemic issue, our extreme issues, like we have been watching the war problems, and there are many extreme issues like climate change. We have to create a very agile, very, how to say, very agile supply chain here. This might be able to create network scenarios. I will try to explain this. we generally consider, or we generally want some try to how to say we try to say to companies that they have some plan A, plan B, plan D for their networks. So how they will create these plans? They have to create these plans considering some risk issues. They have to define the risk before. For example, before the pandemic, most of the companies couldn't know this kind of huge risk they will face, and then most of the companies was not ready to stay alive to manage their supply chains. So this is why we are here and we are talking about this. And be sure in Europe, and be sure in America, and be sure in Japan, I'm sure they are still talking about how to manage their supply chain and have to stay alive and have to create a better supply chain. And this is not only for the Asian problem. And the second one, which I'm not the expert, but I know my academician friends are, especially in engineering faculty, we are talking about the blockchain technology for supply chain issues. So maybe I should explain a little bit what is blockchain to understand. But blockchain is generally created for the financial issues, and then we, as I told before, in supply chain, we know that the cash flow at the same time we have, and the information flow at the same time we have, and we would like it to keep as a secret in our chain. And I like to say in Toyota, around March 2, like 20 days ago, they have a cyber attack. They have to shut down their 28 lines in 14 plants. So only 20 days ago. So the blockchain technology also might be a precaution for cybersecurity problems. They might consider this solution to solve this cybersecurity problem as well. Okay, let's continue. And I try to show as an example how blockchain can work in supply chains. As you can see here, these bigger chains represent the blockchain, and these double lines arrows represent information flows, and outbound goods, incoming goods, cyber physical systems also we have. We always have cyber physical systems here, as you can see in our factories, in our payment services, in our transportations. So nowadays, especially related to the terroristic attacks, we are also talking about in Turkey, or in many countries, we are talking about these issues. So transportation is a problem here. We have to create a safe transportation ways. So considering the material flow and financial flow and information flow, we can create we can use blockchain technology to create a resilient and agile and safe supply chain here. Okay, so and again, technology is related to supply chain by innovation. I like to talk about the main type of innovations here. Whenever we say innovation, we always at the first sight we just think about a product, very new one, a very extreme point it has. No, that is not right. That is not the only point we should talk about. But when we say innovation, let me make it a little bit bigger to see. So I just couldn't see as well. Okay, I'm bringing it. So we can say maybe let's count them all. We have mainly 10 different innovation types. Some of them is directly related to supply chain here. For example, we like to make money, right? the aim of the company or the aim of the supply chains are making money. We all know that. We don't do it for charity. So for making money, we have to create some innovative profit models, which is related to supply chain issue. And we have to create a structure which is directly related to supply chain network. And we have to manage if we have manufacturing processes, we have to create, maybe if we got to be the, how to say, be different, differentiate, or as a differentiator, we can use the process innovation in our supply chains. And for example, if we have the channel, as we see in the logistics part of the supply chain, we have to create some innovative ways here, because I'll explain sooner in the further slides. The topics that we are talking change very fastly nowadays, and the consumer engagement. We have three main innovation types here, and under these titles, there are many subtitles directly related to supply chain, of course. We are just need to talk about the innovation for process improvement and product improvement, and actually the experience improvement, I say. Then the technology might help us in this way generally. And then I'm still continuing the technology, maybe a little bit different topic in this seminar here, but the cybersecurity is a big challenge. Maybe I should mention that while I was in Japan, there was a huge study groups were studying on this topic. So how to deal with cybersecurity issues. And I said before, just 28 days ago, and Toyota, I am talking about Toyota, which is the biggest brand in the world who produce cars, as we all know, has a cybersecurity and had to shut and cybersecurity in Japan also, not in Turkey, not in Belgium. And they have to shut down, and they have to pull back some of the cars they produce. So it is creating many costs for them, and it is not good for their brand at the same time. So we have to consider the cybersecurity challenges, but we don't consider it as an IT problem only, because it affects the sourcing issues, vendor management issues, supply chain continuity, and transportation security. And something like that we can consider. Many researchers here, they call it cyber pandemic. We have the health pandemic, and at the same time, we have cyber pandemic, which especially affecting supply chain issues here. And this is the last sentences related to the technology, I guess. The supply chain might have a chance for the recovery in the near future, but we have to talk about cybersecurity. But if we deal with if we create a cyber secure supply chain, we should talk about at the same time the risk management. If we define what are the risks that we can face in near future and nowadays, and what did we face, so we can define, we can create a risk management for our supply chain here. And this one also will directly affect the supply chain efficiency. We can't divide the cybersecurity and supply chain. They are not the two different, or that we can't consider like that. And the second part here, the last, sorry, and as an engineer, actually, we are also talking about so hot topics, let's say, related to supply chain issues, distribution network optimization. I'm sure you mostly heard about that. So what does it work for in supply chain management, especially in global supply chains? We have to create a robust one. And it is not easy, but why do we have to create a robust one? We have to how to say decline the logistics cost to make money. Because as Porter said, there are two ways to how to say to stay alive in this market: be different or be the cost leader. So being different is not easy nowadays because there are many brands can follow you easily. But if you become the cost leader, it might be easier for you. And if you want to be the cost leader, the decreasing the logistic cost is necessary, let's say, because in production, if you want to lower your cost in production, you have to study lean management, the productivity principles, and many issues at the same time. And we say that we need to talk about the distribution network optimization. It will help companies to save 10 to 15% reduction in their logistic cost. And then analytics-based scheduling optimization, let's say. And this is production throughput increase. Let's say, as I told before, in the manufacturing step of the supply chain, they may how to say, they have the valued 20% of the production throughput increase. And then digital SOP control tower, they can create a standard operational as I remember processing. They can 50% reduction in inventory value. We don't like inventory, for example, in anywhere, and especially if we are talking about the lean management side, we have to reduce our inventory costs. And many others, I don't want to talk about here all of them, but for example, we can use a very new and hot topic, that the supply chain risk modeling here. When a company uses supply chain risk modeling, they can gain the 40% reduction in their high risk spend. If they cannot control their if they don't know what is risk, they cannot manage it. So if they know it, they can try to manage it at least. Okay, this is the last time I try to explain that, especially during the pandemic. I am talking about pandemic because it was a good example for us. It was a very good lesson for all of the people who is dealing with the supply chain issues. So yeah, pandemic is an example, and there might be other extreme issues very similar to that. It doesn't have to be helped. As I said, there is a war here now between Ukraine and Russia. It is so close to our country, and we are actually afraid of that. So most of the companies are afraid of that. So we are there is just only Black Sea between Russia and Turkey. So and this is not the last one. And there is Syria. This is Iraq. So we have to consider these topics. The COVID only a lesson that we have to learn. And then if they ask the companies if they invested any supply chain advanced analytics related to their sectors, the answers are here. The commodity sector are also the 70% are implemented in the past years, and they are more planning. The commodity sector and the construction and the engineering and infrastructure sector, again, the 75% of them also implemented some analytics in this sector, and they have no further plan. Sorry about that. And the automotive, which is we say in Turkey, locomotive sector of all sectors, or engine sector of all sectors. The automotive sector also 67% of them also implemented supply chain advanced analytics. Then 33 percent of them not implemented yet, but they have a plan future. And then we can see here, maybe healthcare here, it is a little important for me because of the COVID, maybe it's different here. They have never implemented, they have to implement during COVID, and they have a plan in near future. 40% isn't a small number here, and then 20% will not consider. Even in my country, in Turkey, when we visit the companies which are in these sectors, as I just see, they are just SMEs. I can see that they have some supply chain problems. If they have to buy some of their inputs, let's say the raw materials, some of the parts that they have to use in their products or even in their machines, they have to wait for a while. So this is ending like the story not ends well for most of the countries, because they have to make wait their customers as well. And if you cannot catch your customers' demands at the same time, that the daytime they want, they just run away to another company. So it's a big deal for the company. So globalization here, the second part I want to talk about, the globalization. We all know the globalization is not a thing that we can run away. We are living, even if we have pandemic, we were still global. As here we can see, but in the trade issue, in the market, we have to be. If we consider the automotive sector, there are more than 200,000 parts in a car, and there are many companies and from many countries. They are producing them and send them to another country to produce this car, to make it to the end car for let's say the create a car. So we have the geographical integration. We don't have any boundary, let's say, or functional integration. We cannot divide the functions nowadays. The responsibilities of the logistics or the operations manager are not limited to the physical flow, and they have to control, they have to know the distribution, after sales and service at the same time. Also responsible for such research and development and marketing. And we should know the all chains problems. We cannot consider only one chain, and we cannot try to optimize the one chain here. And the sectoral integration, all channel parties should optimize the entire supply chain. Not only, as I said, one chain, we cannot consider one chain, we should consider all of them. And then, before COVID, what we were talking about as a global issue, I want to talk about that. We were talking about the currency fluctuations and trade and tariff challenges. And we were talking about maybe Brexit in Europe. Maybe we were talking about it was affecting our supply chain so much, and the implications this international trades and the change on international trends and effects on global supply chain. We were talking about, and then it shifted directly. We were talking about the cost. And then it shifted the resilience, and I just only want to deliver my products to my customer. It just shifted that. Yes, we have to consider cost, but the priority changed, because at this time we couldn't. There was an uncertainty. There was fuzziness here, and the topic, the priority change. I have to deliver my products, and then I have to lower my cost. It shifted, and this is maybe the output of the globalization again. And again, related to globalization, we also check the again sectors here. The consumer goods industry differs from other sectors in the factors driving supply chain vulnerability. So the vulnerability is an important issue, and this shows the global results. Many companies all over the world, all of the respondent, I will say, and if you willing to read, there are different sectors here. Why they show these sectors, by the way, as I said before, some sectors are engine sectors for the other sectors, so they want to show them here. And what creates the vulnerability and disruption for them mostly the demand variability and difficult for forecasting here, especially, sorry, did I do that?
Excuse me, sorry, Dr. Sule. Yeah, I just want to remind you that you have 5 minutes left for this section.
Okay, I try to be fast enough.
All right.
Okay, I just try to. I hope I will. So the demand variability, we all know that, but in the pandemic time, it has been so huge to difficult to manage, and the sourcing or non-substitutable inputs, long lead times, low inventory, or just in time totally cracked down, supplier risk, or something. Here we can talk about it was the reason for supply chain or value chain disruption, especially in the global pandemic or extreme times. But we will always gonna see this kind of issues here. From now on, we cannot talk about the very normal way of supply chain. There will be more disruptions. We believe that the very new normal is not the normal that we used to know. This might be the new normal for us, so we get used to this. And the sustainable development, again, my one of the issues that I am very interested in, there are many conflicts here. We like to make money, but at the same time, someone said that, no, you have to also consider environmental issues and you have to consider social issues. So while making money, it is not easy to follow some regulations. It is not easy to so it's not easy to change your supply chain to follow governmental policies, follow international regulations. So again, there is a conflict here, and how to deal with it is a problem. And global warming and greenhouse gas emissions, the customer green preferences, and sustainable development goals by itself also a problem here. So I tried to show a diagram which I saw in a paper. We have to combine, as I said, the sustainable development issue to supply chain management and quality. We cannot, and also supply cybersecurity we talked about, also IT we talked about, analytics we talked about. We have to create a robust framework for all of them. And here, at the environment side and the economic side and the social side, there are many topics that we have to talk about. In our industrial engineering discipline, we mainly discuss many quality issues, and the supply chain in these quality issues, where these quality issues should be represented in the supply chains, we will try to discuss. Generally, we see the process approaches, product development, product management, production issues, or the customer relations part. We try to define the quality issues, and the supply chain management side generally related to the economic side, but the integration, evidence-based decision making, this kind of topics that we can talk about. And here, actually, There are 17 different supply chain, sustainable development goals here, and some of them are directly related to that the companies to make companies they make have to them actually to create green supply chains, to manage and to create the reverse logistics, or to create the closed loop supply chains, whatever they call. They almost have similar effect on the supply chain networks. They have to consider the not only economical outputs. One of the aim of their supply chain should be social outputs, maximizing social outputs, positive social outputs, and then minimizing negative environmental impact at the same time. And this one was the supply chain, sorry, the closed loop supply chain that we're talking about. There are the raw material supplier side, the manufacturer or assembly side, dealer, distributor side, retailer, end users, secondary market side, which we are always talking about this, the end of life products is an issue in supply chain, global supply chain. And if we produce a product in our country and send it to another country, we believe that we are still responsible for that. And then how to manage this problem, and how to create this recycling, repair service, recovery centers, and how to manage the waste and junk traders, how to manage these flows. We are dealing still. There is no one fit for all. So all companies should create their own whatever they call, but we call supply chain, closed supply chain. They have to create it. And the other crucial topics that I want to talk about, I just couldn't put it on the main topics, but the high cost of energy, it's getting maybe because of the war, or maybe the COVID pandemic. I don't know the reason, but we know there is the energy is getting more expensive, and the labor shortages are affected by COVID, are also affected by the trends that the companies need, especially related to the IT developments, the high inflation expectations, especially the near future for developed country, especially developed country. In Europe, in USA, they have the inflation rates that never seen maybe in 10 years, in 20 years, and they now try to create the scenarios to stay resilience, and the possibility of new trade barriers. Also, I didn't mention maybe, but the China is getting stronger, it's getting more powerful, and this might be a problem, this might be an opportunity, and we don't know, we will see, but some say it is an opportunity, some say it is a threat. So this will also create new trade relations with trade networks with new countries, or new trade barriers for some country, and this will directly affect the supply chain for them. And then I like to add that the future of supply chain, companies will reshore again? Will they become turn back to their own countries for their production? Because in the pandemic, it was very difficult for them to manage a global one. Will it be possible? We should talk, and the companies are talking about these issues, I know. And the governments around the world, they are turning them in, they are talking about almost shutting down themselves into themselves. And the companies are talking about reshoring their production facilities. It is a very big problem. For example, in Turkey, we have many automotive production plants. If they take back to their own countries, there will be many issues that I talk about already. And the other one I am like to add, also companies should should identify the options for their company's supply chain based on these issues. They should evaluate different options to create supply chain resilience and put their own plans in the context of emerging value chain trends. They have to follow the trends all over the world. And these are my information here. Whatever you want to ask or get in touch with me, this is my email address and this is my cell phone. There are 4 hours. This is 4 hours before here, and whenever you like to contact me, you can use this email address and stuff. Thank you very much for your listening.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sule. Okay.
You're welcome.
As I can recap from your presentation, you are explained about the positive impact by information sharing and transparency throughout the supply chain, and also the integration between innovation and process improvements of technology in supply chain. Yeah, and moving forward, the last but not least, we will welcoming the senior lecturer from Universitas Medan Area, Dr. Leylan Tawila. Please welcome Dr. Leylan Tawila.
Okay, thanks Miss Rana Fatina Nanda as a moderator today. Is it my voice clear?
Yeah, sure, your voice is clear.
Okay, and how about my slide?
Your slide has not shown up, Doctor. Could you please share screen?
Is it my slide visible?
Not yet, Doctor. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Why?
You have already be the co-host, so you should be share screen from Zoom.
Okay, wait a moment.
Okay. Yeah, it has shown up, Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But please click the
Zoom
show
out
button. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please, Doctor.
Okay. I think this is the risk of being the last presenter. Yeah. Almost all topics have been presentation by previous presenter. Okay, but never mind. The Honorable Rector of the University of Medan Area, Professor Dr. Dadan Ramdan, and the Honorable Dean of our Faculty of Economic and Business, Ahmad Rafiki, PhD, and the Honorable for all the presenters today, Dr. Sadina, Dr. Hakima, Professor Dr. Moniruzzaman, and Dr. Sule R. Europe. Okay. I think almost the presenter explained about the theory of global supply chain. I think that's all. So I would like to convey to all of you, I will not talk in depth about supply chain theory, but I will take the case of the decline or reduce in logistic performance in our country, Indonesia. Okay. Okay, this is my focus today, strategies in global logistic and supply chain management. Of course, the specific case I try to explain in Indonesia. Okay, Why supply chain is very important today? Supply chain management is now acknowledged as a critical activity in today's uncertain and turbulent world. Not all organizations, but all countries need to recognize that they are dependent upon myriad external and independent entities for the sustained function of their operation. So all countries and almost all the companies today prepared to invest in re-engineering their supply chain and their business process to create more agile and flexibility capabilities. Okay. I read in general how much multi-effects pandemic COVID-19 on global economic. In general, I write just three main. First, disrupt the world's business and industrial sectors. Second, quarantine. And third, price volatility. But my focus today, I want to explain about disrupt the world's business and industrial sectors. Okay. What is this disrupt the world's business and industrial sectors? Disrupt, of course, slow down and setback about business and changing the way and where people buy products or services. Almost 95% in this pandemic, significant increase in online shopping and 95% significant increase in business to business. Okay, Indonesia, I divide three areas in Indonesia. The impact of logistic industry in Indonesia percent year of year. The first, this is the logistic. We can see from the diagram in the red bar, in the second quarter 2020, the logistics sector in Indonesia significantly decreased, almost minus 30.8%. This is for the logistic. And the subsector, this is still in Indonesia, and I can translate directly here. This is train, this is terminal lane, sea, river, airport, and post and courier. For the airport, significantly decreased until minus 0.28%. So how about the e-commerce transaction in Indonesia? The impact of the pandemic on the logistic industry in Indonesia increased. Until 2021, increased e-commerce transactions significantly. Why? Why significantly increased? I think there are clear difference in the data for the end customer before and after the COVID-19 outbreak. Yeah. Why increase? Because before the pandemic, customer experience had a significant positive effect on a commerce platform performance. And however, the outbreaks has changes customers' behavior to buying what they need to buy under certain condition. So the other result, this diagram show that the correlation is the same before and after the COVID-19 outbreak for the sellers. There is no difference in the data before and after the pandemic began. Okay, so in Indonesia, just e-commerce transaction significantly increased, but for the logistic and the subsector logistic significantly decreased. as long as pandemic. Okay. And economic growth contracted by 2.19% in the fourth quarter of 2020, an improvement from the previous quarter. The factor driving the improvement is the easing of the implementation of large-scale social restriction in various regions. Some community activities such as office activities, production, and tourism can start running again, although still under pre-pandemic condition. The recontraction of economic growth has ensured that Indonesia is in a regression. We can see from the diagram, yeah, significantly decreased. Okay, and how about the transport and warehousing sector contracts? Yes, transport and warehousing sector contracts significantly also. We can see 2020 minus 2.07. And then various modes of transportation will decrease during 2020 by train. So I will explain to all of you. I will explain decrease by train, main seaport, and main airport in Indonesia. We can see. Okay, 2019 until 2020. Yeah, this is significantly decreased. And how about main airport? Main airport in Indonesia, Polonia, Soekarno-Hatta, Juanda, Ngurah Rai, Hasanuddin. This is decreased also. And then why? Logistics is very important in our country. Why logistics and supply chain very, very important in Indonesia? Because Indonesia is one of the largest maritime countries in the world. Not only in the ASEAN, but in the world. Indonesia is one of the largest maritime countries in the world. And so I want to explain to all of you, Indonesia encouraging happening national economic growth. So why Indonesia have the why Indonesia have the low performance index, lower than the neighbor in other country? We can see from this table, Indonesia lower than the neighbor country. China, the first, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, the fifth, and the last is Philippines. Even though Indonesia is the largest maritime country in the world. In ASEAN, of course. Okay, so this is the data from the our ministry about quality of port infrastructure. Quality of port infrastructure and liner shipping connectivity index in Indonesia. Compared to neighboring countries, particularly Malaysia, Vietnam, and Singapore, the quality of Indonesia's port infrastructure is relatively low, although it has shown improvement over time. So our government improve our quality of port infrastructure day by day. So why the global logistics is very important in supply chain management? Because logistics and supply chain management has long been identified as a key lever for organizational success. At the same time, many companies or many countries are still in the process of defining the specific scope of responsibility of the logistic function. So this is the data of the quality of port infrastructure. We can see Indonesia in the signed rate. This is Indonesia The first one, Singapore, and then Malaysia, Korea, Thailand. In 2014 until 2017, Vietnam significantly increased, and Indonesia lower than Vietnam in 2016 until now. Yes, something like that. Okay, so how about the liner shipping connectivity index? The low quality of port make Indonesia's connectivity to the global shipping network relatively low compared to neighboring countries. However, in the last 3 years, there has been a significant improvement in the quality of Indonesia's global connectivity network. We see the liner shipping connectivity index. From Thailand. Indonesia lower than Thailand, and then of course Singapore the first one. Yeah. So this one, I think Indonesia must hardworking to improve our quality of port. Okay, so why my slide stopped? So what our logistic industry strategy in pandemic? Our business strategy for supply chain and the logistic, 1, e-commerce platform ecosystem, 2, digital promotion, 3, supply chain capabilities, 4, consumer experience, and the 5, the last, outsourcing logistic. But the focus today, I want to explain about a business strategy, e-commerce platform ecosystem, and supply chain capabilities. Why? I try to explain our business strategy only in e-commerce platform ecosystem and supply chain capabilities, because this is, we can see, challenges of transportation services, logistics services, and distribution services in encouraging national economic growth in Indonesia. The first, load volume imbalance between regions. This is our challenge. This is our country challenge. Load volume imbalance between regions. And then, economic growth centered on the island of Java has resulted in inefficiency in Indonesia's sea transportation because lack of feedback from areas with low economic growth. This is linked with the lower quality of port in Indonesia. The third, the existence of an ineffective national logistics system. Yeah, Indonesia still have not effective national logistic system. Okay. Sorry, I think something wrong. Okay.
Yeah, excuse me, Dr. Lailan, as I want to remind you that because of the limited of times, we only have 5 minutes left for your section.
Okay, thank you, Miss Rana. Okay, and the next challenge is transportation logistics service in Indonesia country. The need for logistic institution, which until now there has not been a single logistic institution that integrated ministries or agencies and related parties, both at the central and regional levels. And then barriers to trade. This is barriers to trade in the service sector are relatively higher than in peer countries. And the last, Logistic performance index in Indonesia lower than the Asian region, low logistic, customs, and infrastructure competence. And then connectivity between regions has not been developed evenly. So what the strategy? The strategy, we have three strategy for our industry in a pandemic. The first, strengthen synergies with e-commerce merchants, and the second, logistic ecosystem collaboration, and the third, service innovation by utilizing IT. So our efforts, our country efforts to reduce obstacles and optimize supply chain. This is the supply chain through the highly orchestrated supply network, HOSUN, digitizes in the form of one, data collection in the supply chain. This is our ministry efforts. And two, use of data to track products across the network and to enable real-time visibility into product location and status. And the third, use of data assets for documentation required for regulatory requirements. And that is about transform global supply chain into a cloud-based information hub strategy and upgrades. And the last, what the upgrades for what the upgrades from our ministry country to reduce obstacle and optimize supply chain. The first, a real-time virtual map of its supply chain and transportation system to track its supply and product across a complex supply chain and identify evolving needs or supply chain disruption. And the second, facilities and supplier transmit information about shipments based on customer requirements to find out when the cargo is ready to pick up the location of the cargo and provide notification if there is a disruption in the supply chain. So that's all my country efforts and strategy to reduce obstacle and optimize supply chain. That is our upgrades. And I think this is the model, but yes, not clear. Not visible, not visible, but it's okay. I can send my slide to moderator first, and maybe moderator distribute our slide. Okay, Miss Rana, I think that's all for me. Thanks for you, Ken. Mr. Rana, please.
All right.
Miss Rana, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Lairan, for the presentation, which about the strategies and global logistics and supply chain management, especially in the impact of logistics in Indonesia. So now we are coming to the discussion section. We have already heard the presentation from all of our speakers. Now we will open up for discussion section. But before that, I have one question from the Zoom chat. Wait, let me read the question. Okay. Yeah, so the question number one is from Ferdi Sijabat from STIES Banda Aceh. And the question is, what is the fate of global supply chain in the post-pandemic crisis and the recent Russia-Ukraine war? Will these scenarios put global supply chain in red alert? So what is the exit strategy suitable for policymaker and industry to align to the current situation? Please, the speakers maybe can answer and discuss about this question. And I think because this is talking about the global supply chain, if I'm not mistaken, it's closest to the presentation from Dr. Hakimah binti Yaakob. Maybe Dr. Hakimah can be the first to answer the question from Ferdi. Dr. Hakimah. Okay. Or maybe I can put the question back on the. Okay, wait, Dr. Hakimah, I will unmute you. Wait a minute.
Rana, Dr. Shatina.
Okay.
Okay,
Please,
all right.
Dr. Hakimah, yeah.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Okay, wait, I will reread the question. The question is, what is the fate of global supply chain in the post-pandemic crisis and the recent Russia-Ukraine war? Will these scenarios put global supply chain in red alert? So what is the exit strategy suitable for policymaker and industry to align the current situation? Or maybe I can copy the question back on the Zoom chat, yeah? Wait a minute.
Yes, yeah. Well, answering your questions, basically, I'm looking this into two scenarios. First, now we are embracing two blocks of the world power. One is the Western from the US, another one is from the Russia. And when we talk about what will be the fate of our financial institutions globally, I believe we have to understand that when we talk about financial institutions, it is something that regulated and regimented, as I shown you in the pyramid just now. So when we the scenario of war as well as pandemic is basically has caused more monopoly in terms of controlling and monopolizing the power to be more centralized. If you notice, from our research, we also we found also that the trend nowadays is not only to, to position nations, into the high-risk countries due to non-compliance in the financial system per se. They have also positions nations and other jurisdictions to be under the high-risk nations and countries due to health and due to the the positions of the health scenarios within their countries. For example, there are countries that has been listed on blacklisted by the United Nations as well as US for traveling, right? Due to the pandemic, due to the health conditions in their regions. Whereas we can only see in this from the financial aspects per se previously, when we have the compliance, non-compliance, into the certain regulations and rules. If we notice the arrangement or the trend that we are adopting at the moment is moving forward towards one directions or one directives, and creating more controlled and regimented as well as supervised from one entity, i.e. international entity, which is previously it was only meant to be a soft law, but now it is being adopted as part of the regulations and the law for that particular jurisdictions. That is our observations at the moment. So streamline towards one regulations and legislation may lead to one control system, right? So that is one of the observation. And another one is that when we talk about fate, we have to, as I urged earlier, we have to make sure that we provide alternatives to our current system, rather than too dependent upon one riding on one system only. I think I have answered that, Ms. Rana.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Dr. Hakimah, for the answer. What about Dr. Shatina Saad? Would you please adding some information about the question, Doctor?
Yeah, I do agree that when you talk about this global supply chain, when we have this case of a scenario, a war between the Russia and Ukraine, we can see that it may affect us as well. And as what we know that the supplies in commodities also be controlled, then we can see that it affect with us. Again, what happened here in Malaysia, we can realize that it seems like at the beginning we don't feel that, oh, there's a war in the other country, but we don't feel that it will affect our countries as well. However, you can see and you realize that the cost of living is also increasing. The cost of I mean, like the daily activities, I mean the supplies of our I mean, like in our wet market, saying that to get the flour, to do some cooking, and saying that all is increasing, especially the oil. Okay, the price of oil, you can see that it gone drastically. Okay, increasing, and definitely it will affect with the transportation costs, and indirectly it will affect with the cost of living as well. So indirectly, it will hit the communities as well, the citizens, and whatever income that we receive and whatever expenses that we have to spend, that is again imbalance happen there. Okay, that is why it's so important for us to realize that as a policymaker, we need to understand that the very basic of the supply chain is it may affect every one of us. It doesn't mean that, oh, we just ignore that, oh, this is like something happened in other country, it's far away from our country, it will not affect us. However, when you talk about a global supply chain, when we really understand about global supply chain, we need to look forward, we need to think ahead, saying that, look, we have a war in other state, in other country, how we would like to control the price of increasing the inflations happen in our country now. Okay, because of we are relying upon the supply chain. So if every one of us understand about the supply chain, it seems like it starts from the farm to the fork. It seems like even though we are not growing up the plants, but we are relying upon that in order for us to eat just for a rice. So if every one of us understand about this global supply chain, I'm sure that everyone will aware about what is happening outside of our country as well. So with that, I do hope that the policymakers also
Dr. Shatina,
take note for that.
I think you are freeze. Sorry,
Okay.
your voice freeze.
Is it freezing? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now
All right.
it's clear. Okay.
All right. So can you hear me whatever that I discussed just now earlier?
Yeah, just 1 minute.
Okay.
Sorry,
All right.
just a
I think
few
that's
seconds
it.
ago it's freezing.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think that's it. Just to conclude saying that supply chain is very important for every one of us. So hope that the policymakers also aware about that as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Shatina, for your statement. And what about Dr. Sule or Europe? Do you want to adding something based on the question?
Thank you very much. I was just writing that I have to leave, but I will just say something. As mentioned before, the Ukrainian war especially, of course, will affect the global supply chain. And I just try to forget to mention in my presentation, we also have some difficulties related to the, as you have before, I'm sure, this chip crisis that we are talking about in automotive sector, that it is a global crisis in automotive sector. It is just an example for if you consider the other sectors supply chains, the similar issues will gonna happen. As Satina also try to mention that the oil prices, try to mention the daily costs are increasing, that these, as I said, the extreme issues. Not only in my presentation, I tried to mention not only COVID pandemic, also economical fluctuations, the variability, the high inflation in developed countries, the war itself. Yes, of course, it will affect global chain, not in a positive way. I am sorry to say that, but not in a positive way. So how to deal with it? The only way is try to create scenarios and try to create a risk management, to define the risks and take precautions, what kind of risk you face, and what kind of precautions you have to take. I believe this is the only way the supply chain, not itself, it can transform into another form, but your company still can be remain, it can be still alive, but it can change their form. They can change their network. Okay, the main issue is not keeping the supply chain itself the way it is. The main issue here is the keeping the company alive, making money. This is an important point, I think. I hope it is helpful.
All right, then. Thank you, Dr. Soleh. Well, I think we have come into the end of our event today. I would like to, would you mind if you all turn on the camera to have some documentations from all of us? Okay. Okay, in the counting of 3, I will take a screenshot from our photos. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for all the audiences and all the speakers. And I would like to say sorry for all the mistakes and for the uncomfortable things during this event. And the information about the certificate will be announced at WhatsApp group. At the closing, once again, I would like to say thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Hakimah, Dr. Soleh, and Dr. Lailan.
Thank you, Dr. Rana. Thank you.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you, Dr. Rafiki.
Thank you,
Doctor.
Thank you for all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Lailan.
Thank you.
Wonderful speech.
Huh?
Terima kasih semua adik-adik, mahasiswa, dosen-dosen yang hadir pada hari ini. Terima kasih. Sampai ketemu di lain waktu. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.